outlets, whether it's HOAs or community groups or coffees with the mayor or whatever they are, just to take advantage of them to get the word out about everything that the district does.
Yeah, we talked about that the school district does that and the village does that kind of coffee with the superintendent, et cetera, and it has been, I've attended the last couple of with the coffee district, really positive, just questions all over the board, but really nice. I don't know if if people are gonna come talk to or not, but I think it really can be a positive event. Marcy, do you wanna add anything?
I just want to congratulate the staff because I think they did a great job in bringing together leaders in the community to have a really honest discussion about what was working for the Park District and what you need to look at moving forward. So I was just happy to be a part of that, but thanks to Carlo and all of his staff. I thought you guys did an awesome job pulling it together.
No, just continue to get the word out, you know, just like you were saying, just to have a presence wherever you can.
Do board members have any questions for us or?
I'm really thankful that you all came together to do this, because we know it took a lot of time and energy to do this for us, so we really appreciate that.
Were there any questions or ideas out there that you didn't anticipate, or something that you can share with all of us that the left field, if you will?
You know, the first meeting was a little interesting when everybody kind of said that went through a rough patch, and everybody kind of had a positive approach, so that things have changed and that we're looking forward, and that was pretty much around the table. Everyone around the table, that committee, kind of talked about the need to get the word out about everything good the district's doing and the good area that's moving in now.
I think the thing that really surprised me is that all the people that did come, that there was, I know Carlo invited other people that didn't come, but the people that did, there was a lot of really strong leadership there, and they had some strong opinions, and so it was really nice to see, because sometimes the Park District stands by itself often, and doesn't always reach out to all these other entities, and it was really nice just to see that really coming together. I mean, you got the mayor, and you got the administrator, and the head of the library, and the head of the forest preserve, they kept going, so it was just really nice to see that, and see that support, which I really think that's what it was. It was support for this Park District to do good things and move forward in a positive way.
And it kind of led into like the procedural stuff I talked about briefly. Or the manual's outdated, or the intergovernmental agreement's outdated, where you kind of refresh those, and you kind of create or refresh relationships with those other agencies through that process. Some of them have been around for a long time, and this may be the time to look at a lot of those and see if there's opportunities to meet the changes that are going on.
I mean, and Julie did mention from the library that she would love to do a project with the Park District. Years ago, that was on the table, that development fell away, and it never happened, but the idea of an auditorium that the library and the Park District could share, how awesome would that be? So it was nice to see all of that kind of input, that people really do want to have that connection.
Right, the interest is still there. The development slowed down, so the opportunity was kind of, we weren't able to capture that opportunity, but it may occur again. So that's the intergovernmental cooperation is always a big thing.
Does the group think that we do have a large indoor facility in our future, or do they see that as probably not for a long time, or?
They understood the difficulty of because most everybody there was from government, not all, but most people, and they understand the difficulty of getting an indoor facility and the financial aspect of it, the voter initiatives, referendum that would be required. But they felt it was important. They felt it was important for the community to have an indoor facility and to continue to pursue that.
And it wasn't so much like it had to be one big or another small. I don't think anybody had a really strong, like it had to be this or it had to be that. It was just, you got to find more indoor facilities.
There's no strong vision about what it would
No,
look like.
and that was why I think one of the key pieces within there is, what are the partnerships that you can do? Like this space suddenly is now a new space that's available. So what are the other places? Or are there places to rent? Are there empty office front? What else can we do that, creatively can build the programs? So, Great Adventures was built over a number of years. It was extremely, successful, and now kind of has its own space. It might not be the permanent space, but really built out for its use. What else can be done that way, if the referendum is in the future? I don't think we had any real strong discussion that referendum is or is not in the future. It was really more of, we saw the need for getting out in the public and sharing all the great stuff that's happening to build that community support. So maybe that's done, you know.
You know, the referendum was one of the issues we were initially tasked with discussing, but we kind of changed that and talk about.
We really kind of took it off the table.
Yeah, we took it off, so
So-
let's talk about these other things, and if from that comes information that would point you towards a referendum, then so be it, but,
Maybe throw it back in your court.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to toss off here a comment regarding back to your board. Would you guys would consider fundraising for support for the park districts for the cause with regards to facilities and so forth, or special
You know, that really wasn't
programs?
we had no discussions
Right.
like that, and that wasn't
I
anything
know
that
it takes
came
a
up in
lot,
our committee.
it takes a lot of effort and so forth, but that's just an idea, a suggestion.
And when you say
Yeah,
fundraising, you're meaning like a capital campaign, like the
Oh.
Y does to actually build a facility?
No, absolutely, and get everybody else involved and so forth, and like I said, participating.
You
to
should
get
start
people-
that committee.
Since I said you start up with the Bellflower, maybe get these people involved too.
There are people obviously that attended, were interested in the park district.
Right.
And it wasn't the charge of that group to look at fundraising, but they were interested in the park district, and there are other folks out there. So that, there may be opportunities
Well,
for
say-
committee to
say-
be formed.
One of the difficulties with that group to be the fundraising is several of them are leaders of their own agencies or heads of other entities within the town.
Well,
So I'm just using that as an example. That
Yes.
is something that we could look at and speak with our foundation in regards if there was a
for
certain
the
capital
cause,
aspect.
for the important cause for the park district.
It's certainly a worthy cause.
Right.
No doubt.
I know I'm supportive of it, and I'm sure Michelle is
Yeah.
still, will speak for you, but.
No doubt. All right, thank you so much.
I appreciate very much Michelle, Marcy, and Jim. And then moving right on to the next aspect of the report, Todd Stanton from Design Perspectives is here to present our status of where we are with the master plan, give a little bit of an update, and also some of the findings that we have to our community aptitude survey.
Thank you, Carlo.
This actually works out.
Oh, I'm a manual guy as well, but I'll see what I can
Show
do.
it if it doesn't.
Hopefully the laser pointer will work. That way it's,
No, I'm good, let's see, where's side to side?
there we go, there's the master plan. Well, last time I was here, Tom from Green Clay was here. It was a snowy winter evening a couple of months ago, so the sun's out. We have a nice evening to spend a few minutes giving you an update on where we are with the master plan. Next month, we have a special meeting for Design Concepts, who did a good bulk of our GIS inventory. Will come and do a special presentation to you because the level of service within the Park District is going to be a key attribute moving forward. As the Delphi Committee mentioned, we're blessed with wonderful outdoor spaces and a large quantity of them. Unfortunately, we have a lot of similar ideas within those spaces, so we have to figure out what makes the best sense moving forward in terms of elements as well as budget. So just want to give you a heads up on that. But we're happy to be here, and voila. So a little bit of where we are with the process. Phase 1 was gathering information from the community in particular, stakeholders, Delphi, the staff and the board. We've also spent time working with Carlo and the staff doing a variety of activities to get familiar with Park District operations. Phase 2, which we're in right now, is understanding what all this information means. How can we make sense of all this information that we've gathered for the last 3 or 4 months? And the last phase, which is the exciting phase, is actually developing goals, objectives, and developing a plan so we can hopefully implement some of these wonderful things that our community told us they're looking for. So I have about 20 slides. I'm going to go through them relatively quickly. If you have questions, just shoot them at me. But I want to go over the demographics. The Delphi Committee mentioned that. Total population within the district is about 106,000 residents, 31,000 and change as far as households. Our average household size is over 3 members. Our age is just shy of 37 years of age. And you can see we have a very respectable household income as far as that level. Just to give you a little insight, the average Will County household income is about $75,000. So Plainfield is blessed with having a little bit well-off community than some of your neighbors. In terms of the population growth, you can see we had really good explosive growth for about 10 years. Now things have sort of plateaued off, where we're going to be looking to do pretty much non-existent growth for the next 5 years. In terms of age, we touched upon that with Delphi. We have a little bit of a younger population growing, under 25. Our established population, 35 to 45, is going to be declining a bit. And then our 55 plus group is going to be the area where you're going to see the most growth. But still, it's minor. So you can see our magenta lines are growing. Our magenta lines is dropping as far as sort of middle-aged, which I'm in that category. And then our younger population is growing as well, slightly. So we have both youth and active adults, which will be interesting to see how we program that in the future. In terms of race, as you can see, our Caucasian alone population is declining slightly. Our other races are gaining slightly, and our Hispanic only original is growing slightly at about 6%. Just so you know that the average Will County population as far as Hispanic is about 16%. So you're a little bit above average in terms of that particular race. Moving on to the survey. We really hit it pretty well. About half of our sample came from mail, and a fourth came from telephone and email. And that's pretty much what we were expecting when we put our proposal in. Pretty similar as far as level of confidence in your previous survey. We did about 530. I think last time we were closer to 600. So we're relatively close to what was happening last time. In terms of where they came from, good geographic distribution, north, central, and south. So we're very happy with our distribution within the community as far as return surveys. In terms of the demographics of the survey, females 65%, males 35%. Baseline demographics is about half and half. But it's not uncommon when we do these surveys that the female population is overrepresented because they are traditionally the folks that bring kids to do recreation. So not unusual to see that. 53 years of age, keep in mind anyone under 18 couldn't do the survey, so we adjust that, 35 compared to 33. So we're very close in terms of that. And the average years lived in the district is 19. Now keep in mind that we had a huge population growth in the 2000s. So you subtract that out, it's about 15 to 20 years as far as people moving into the district. So that number really represents pretty much your core group of residents. Community interactions, we talked about the trust factor. We asked questions about that on the survey. This happened to be whether or not you had a positive interaction with the Park District the last 12 months, and you can see the majority of the respondents said yes, and then some had no opinion that didn't have any interaction with the Park District. So very few people had negative opinions as far as how they interacted with the Park District in the last year. In terms of satisfaction, people were generally satisfied. 73%, which is higher than the Illinois average, were satisfied with the Park District. The little 14% that weren't listed programs and facilities as the two areas where they had the most displeasure. And programs we can fix, facilities are a little harder to fix. How people learn about the Park District. Traditional methods, program guide, it's still number one, way above everybody else, 85%. That is higher than Illinois average. But keep in mind that your Park District website at 37% is higher than what most folks see. Average is around 20, 25%. So people moving into technology and using our website is an attractive offer as far as gaining information on the Park District. The rest of them are pretty much standard newspapers and conversations and word of mouth, but the program guide is still very, very popular, and then the website is actually gaining traction. In terms of programs, the top reasons for leaving the district was others have better facilities and a lack of convenient times. So once again, times we can fix, facilities might be a little harder one to tackle. The top places people are going outside the Park District to recreate is private fitness clubs, neighboring park districts, which you're blessed with a lot of competition surrounding Plainfield, and the YMCA. Private fitness clubs and the neighboring park districts have really gained ground in the last 5 years. It's almost doubled. So other districts are moving ahead. This park district needs to sort of keep up with the Joneses, if I use that term, in terms of understanding what your neighboring districts are doing. We will do a peer agency comparison. Give you that information next month. kind of knowing what everybody's doing around you. The good news is in the last 5 years, you've had more program growth. 22% increase in people using Park District programs. 73% of those that rated it as a quality experience. So people that use your programs like your programs, which is good. The top 3 categories are youth recreation, youth sports, and preschool. So our adult population and our sort of senior population, that is where some of our growth can actually happen. So we looked at what was done in 2009 compared to our survey, and then what our big brother to the north's doing as far as Naperville. So Naperville had really excellent marks in terms of programming. 60% of the survey respondents rated their programs as excellent, whereas yours was 21%. Actually, it had fallen from the previous survey. You made a little round up in terms of good, and then your numbers actually are pretty stable for the other ones. But keep in mind that the poor is nearly 4 times as high. So there is work to be done in terms of program satisfaction. People are going to expect more and more better things from the Park District moving forward. We looked at recreation lifespan. This is sort of the health of your programs in terms of different categories. We like to see 15% beginning, 25% growing. Your steady is your core programs that make money, and then your fading programs are ones that have kind of run their lifespan that probably need to be replaced. So typically it's a bell curve. We have some inverted bell curves. So we have actually really good understanding as far as beginning programs. For some reason, it could be a variety of things, timing, facilities, whatnot, they just don't gain traction. And our fading programs are taking up a pretty good chunk as far as the lifespan. So those are things we definitely can work on. The good news is that they are working on a little bit. This was a growth graph for 2014. This is kind of the most recent analysis that we've done. So you can see that our fading programs are starting to flatten out, our beginning programs are spiking, and our steady programs are getting there. It's just our growing phase, we have to get these programs to have some traction. So there is some movement within this to actually start addressing this, which is good because we weren't on board in the fall. So we definitely can make some efforts to look at this and teach the staff how to track this, because this is very important. This is your revenue side. This is satisfaction. This is what a lot of people interact with the Park District. So programming are a very, very key component to overall Park District success. The trends, we have to stay relevant in a very changing dynamic in terms of programs, especially demographics, which we kind of highlighted in terms of where the future will be, which is really under 25, which is the millennials, and then the aging population, the active adults. Fitness programs for all ages. Fitness is huge. Everywhere we go, fitness programs are in the demand. Nature programs, as Michelle said, preschool. People want to be outside and actually do something creative as far as understanding nature. And then, as they mentioned, also cultural arts, non-sports programming. So these are some of the things that we're going to focus on working with the recreation department to sort of give them some ideas on moving forward in terms of how to adjust some of their programming. Parks and facilities. The real asset of your district as far as use is your community parks. 50 to 30% visitation. Very, very high. Why? Because they have diversity park elements. They're generally well maintained. I think district-wide you have a pretty good maintenance standard. I didn't put that slide in there, but Gene, 80% across the board, so things are tidy and well kept up. So that's the good news. Some have natural elements and features such as canoe launches and whatnot, so your bigger parks have natural features which are attractive. And many have trails. Trails are number one. Everywhere we go, including here, trails and connections are an important aspect of what people want to see. Your neighborhood parks, on the other hand, they have very low use, mostly about 1%. Doesn't mean they're not important, it just means that people go to their neighborhood park for a very limited time on a very limited basis. They overall have a very lack of interesting park elements. You have a very standard template, which is playground, shelter, open space. Some have a backstop, some have a basketball court. That is really the core of the Plainfield Park District neighborhood model. So standard amenities, I think, hurt you because there's not a lot of diversity within those elements, as we talked about at the board workshop. And then lastly, we just really don't have a lot of design and presence. We talked about this with Carlo on the phone. When we do our inventory, we actually critique the design and the ambiance of each park site. There is a real redundancy in terms of the geometry and the way each park is laid out, which doesn't make it always attractive to the user. In terms of the findings, the number one reason that people don't use your parks is they don't know where they are. And that is something that can be worked on, signage and maps, and just generally not unique to larger districts. You have many, many neighborhood parks that when we did the phone survey, people refer to the parks by subdivision, not actually by name. So we need to make sure that people understand that that park in that subdivision is Aspen Falls, which may not always represent where they think it is. So that's something that we can work on. And then the second one was the elements have no interest to them, which gets back to that standard block of that model, which is very redundant. I visit about half your park spaces, my associate visited every single one, and we could just roll up and say, this is the standard and you know exactly what kind of condition it's kind of going to be in, which is maintained well, but lacks some of the fun features that you'd like to see across the entire district. In terms of community centers, you asked that question, people want more in their space. In terms of doing nothing in the community, only 12% don't want anything in terms of indoor space. We gave them some options. Of course, the first option is to renovate and expand what you have. That may or may not be successful based on the footprints where they're located. So build anew is at 16%. Doing both I don't think is an option. You're kind of competing against yourself. But the bottom line is that the community really like to see something happen in terms of indoor recreational space. And as the Delphi committee leaded to, we'll come back with some recommendations, but it's something that we need to be further studied in terms of specifics on the shape, the size. We have a good idea of the elements, but in terms of that, we'll have to work on that as we get down the road as far as goals and objectives. In terms of the pool, I think the aquatic facility definitely served the community well in the past, but it doesn't meet the needs of the community today. And that's a whole separate topic. There is a hunger for aquatics. This gives you a sense of how you stack up against some other agencies in terms of an outdoor pool as far as satisfaction. Yours at 46%. Morton Grove, which is up north, they are looking to redo their pool at 60. Lamont has a really nice outdoor pool, which they renovated a few years ago. That's at 67. Butterfield, another one of our clients, has a nice outdoor pool at 74. And then Oak Park, which has redone some of their pools at 86. So there's work to be done in terms of addressing the aquatics within the park district. We looked at your programs. Most people have a really strong pool. Aquatics in the summer is really big in terms of a program offering. Priorities, top choices for the indoor side is walking, jogging track, fitness center, leisure pool. Pretty standard formula for fitness. That's pretty much what we see. Top choices for the outdoor parks is walking, biking paths, restrooms, and playground equipment. So that's a wide variety of lists, active and passive, and then convenience. The top priorities for the park district include maintain and expand recreation services, improve the park spaces, and then look to build a new community center. All those are over 50%. In terms of funding, 60% would support a modest tax increase, up to $10 per month. So I don't know if that translates down to a bond, but we wanted to give you some baseline information. So you can see that only a quarter of the people said no more. 17% said don't know because they don't have an idea what you want to do with that kind of money. But generally when I see this, and we work with our clients, this is pretty positive. There's a hunger for action, and they're willing to put some of their money up to get that done. MindMixer, it was our online virtual town hall. We had 2,000 views, 800 visitors, and 50 contributors. These are just some of the things that we covered already. The bigger parks are heavily used. New amenities pretty similar to the survey. People generally were not very happy with the pool for various reasons, and that they really focused aquatics, which was very interesting. In terms of the programs, new program offerings, and some of those cultural arts came out in terms of that. Community center, west side was really more popular than anywhere else. Split between north and south, but forecasting where the growth happened and where it will happen. So the west side of Plainfield was definitely more popular than anywhere else. And then the laundry list is pretty similar to the survey that you've seen. So what are some of the key findings, if I can boil it down in one slide? Your strengths are your outdoor parks. There's no doubt about that. Your weaknesses are your indoor recreation facilities. They don't meet the needs of the community. They don't allow the rec department to fully program and generate specific revenue. Your opportunities are those programs, both in terms of understanding demographics, figuring out where you can place those, both indoor and outdoor we have now, and then figuring out what facility you can build in the next 5 to 7 years to meet that need. Because the private fitness clubs are moving in on the fitness, and the neighboring park districts are actually taking some of your residents in terms of other outdoor recreational programs. And then the threats, your budget, and particularly capital funding. Those are the things that can really move you away from your goals. If you don't have the money, you really can't do some of the things that we'll probably recommend that you do. So that's where we are. Any comments, any questions?
Are you able to look at the data set and see, because the average was 19 years that people were living in the district? Were you able to take a look at it and see people that maybe lived 5 years, 10 years, and see how those stacked up to the answers?
We haven't done that yet.
Is that something that,
Oh, absolutely.
okay,
We code all the data, both in terms of the responses across the district and individually. So I can come back with any kind of map you'd like to see. I could break it down into your 4 quadrants. There's on one side, one area of the community that is younger and how they feel about a certain topic, generally how they feel about that topic. So there's lots
I'll
of,
compare it to the aggregate data and see, okay, are the wants and desires and needs the same for that subset of the total population?
you can do it with kids, no kids, age, location, anything you want to know, we have the ability to generate that kind of map. Not only give you just the stats, but actually show you, is there a bias geographically within the park district on certain topics? Absolutely. District-wide or individually sub-locations, because we know that you plan 4 areas, northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest, and then you kind of have the downtown core. So we could look at the data any way that you'd like to see it, absolutely.
I have a question for you. You're going to have a Naperville and Plainfield area comparison? Is there a possibility?
Where I can, yes.
Is that what you're going to produce, or?
I can. I also like to look at Juliet and maybe some of your other surrounding communities as
What
well.
about, was it Fox Valley?
Fox Valley, we could look at that. They're a little bigger. They spread out against other communities, so it's not as easy to say, because they have North Aurora, Montgomery, and Aurora. But yeah, we need to look at bigger park districts. The long and short of it is.
Comparing what the do's and don'ts and so forth, you
Correct.
guys of future growth.
Correct. And we know the growth will come not just during this planning period. It's nice to take a breath, look at what we have, look what we can do, and then build some facilities both now and for the future. It's really, I hate to say simple, but everything we've learned, it really is getting down to some of those key areas that are on the board right there.
I have two things. One was the 60% that you said would agree to a modest increase in taxes. Do we know does that correlate with voters?
We can. I don't think we asked that question about whether you're a registered voter or not on the survey. But if Carlo can generate a voter list, we can cross-reference that with the actual respondents, and we can give you the likelihood of who answered that question, whether they're a voter or not. Because we have it all broken down by address. So the park district can request a voter list from November of 2014, and then we can cross-reference that and see what percentage of the population looked at that. When we move to the next step is we'll do a poll, which will focus really on the voters. Because those are the people that cast your fate, if I use that term. Because the community could want it, but if they don't go to the poll, you really want to know what the actual folks that are going to go and take the ballot.
It's such a small percentage vote, it's, it can be different. So
Oh, absolutely. So I wouldn't want you to make any rash decisions with that information. It's just, it gives you a glimpse whether it's worth pursuing, and I would say right now it's worth pursuing. But the next step is to look at what actually voters would actually support and what level. Because then we really get down to the specifics of people that are very interested in actually going to the ballot and actually voting on that topic. Absolutely.
And the 17% of that same pie that you said they needed to know more about it. So that's a matter of education, you're saying. That if we
Correct.
educate them, we possibly could have them come on board too.
We hope they're soft yeses, that's what we hope for, where they'll see the value and they'll go to the positive side or the bright side of the light. But typically when we see that, it's almost a third, a third, a third. You have your hardliners that love you to death, but they just don't want any more tax increase for whatever reason. You got your supporters that just love everything you do and will open up a checkbook and give you some more money. And then you got the people that deserve their opinion to know specifically what you want to do.